Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Marie. Today I'll be doing my scary book recommendations. Before I jump into all the books I want to discuss, if you are new to this channel, please don't hesitate to subscribe down below, as well as hit the notification bell to get notifications every time I post new videos. And as always, I have my cute ears over here, which I'm excited for. I haven't worn these in so long, but I thought why not wear them, kind of celebrate the Halloween spirit in this recommendations video. But let's just talk about the books that I want to discuss. So I have 5 books today to recommend for scary books. I feel like this year I didn't read a ton of scary books, but the ones I did read were pretty freaking good. Let's just go into all the books. So the first book I want to recommend is House of Salt and Sorrow. This book was freaking amazing. By the way, all the books that I gave these lists are ones I gave 4 and up stars, so 4 stars and up. This book was amazing. I really liked it. It's basically a spooky atmospheric retelling of the princess and the 12 dancing princes. I believe that's what it's called. So basically the book follows Annalie, who is, her family has been facing tragedy after tragedy, and she soon realizes that maybe something is going on because she is soon plagued with a bunch of nightmarish ghostly apparitions as well as nightmares. On the other hand, she and her sisters are actually dancing the night away because they are, trying to cope with all their sadness and all the tragedies that has befallen in their family. But she soon realizes that something is kind of weird about these dances as well. So now she's trying to investigate and find out what's happening to her family and why are so many deaths happening, what's going on, and what's up with these dances, etc. And it was a good time. I really enjoyed this book. So if you're looking for a really spooky atmosphere, retelling, you like fairy tales, but you want something on the spookier side, this is a great book for you to start. Okay, then the next book that I want to recommend is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. So this book basically follows a haunted house where there was a girl 25 years ago. Her and her family ends up running away because of something that happened, spooked them and freaked them out, and so they escaped from this manor, and her father ends up writing this haunted house story because of it. And so this book becomes really infamous. This manor becomes infamous, the small town becomes infamous, and she's never really believed anything that's happened because she doesn't really remember anything that happened, and 2, she does not believe in anything supernatural. So 25 years later, she still does not believe what her father has written and has been trying to figure out what's been going on. But after her father passes away, she realizes that she is now inheriting the old manor, and so she ends up going back to this manor to find out what truly happened. And also because she is an old homes restorer, she decides to go back and kind of restore the house as well. So this book was creepy. There's just so much about this book that's super atmospheric. I was super invested with what was going on. There were so many plot twists and turns, and all the creepy aspects, the ghostly aspects of it was really top notch. I was just really engaged with the book, and I listened to an audiobook, which I highly recommend. I feel the narrator did such a good job with just bringing everything to life, and I was just so abundantly creeped out by pretty much everything that was happening in this book. So if you're looking for a really good ghost story featuring a haunted house, this is definitely the book for you. Then this next book that I want to recommend is Verity. So this book basically follows a author who has not been doing so well, but she ends up getting this opportunity to basically become a ghostwriter for an author that is doing really well. So the only thing is for her to become a ghostwriter is for her to actually go and live there at this person's place, because something had happened to this author, and which is why she is now able to write. She is basically bedridden because of this tragic accident, and she is also I think in kind of a coma state or something like that. So she can't even really function as a person right now. So this author ends up going there, living there for a few days, trying to go through all her paperwork and just make sure she is still writing properly as if she was this other author. And so once she gets there, there is a really handsome husband as well as a little boy, and she is just trying to figure out and basically rewrite the stories, finish off the series as if she was the ghost author for this other author. But in the meantime though, things are happening in this house, and what really creeped me out was that no, this one doesn't have any ghostly stuff to it, but there were a lot of things about what was going on in the house that really creeped me out. Because for example, this is not a spoiler, but she would go to sleep and then she'll wake up locked in, for example, and she's what is happening, and she's not sure if it's something else happening or if it's like who's actually behind everything. There's just a lot of like suspenseful elements to it. So I would say that like there weren't any like ghost things to it, but there were just so many like creepy things that was happening about this book that I was like, it gave me shivers. So if you're looking for something that's like not necessarily like supernatural but like very creepy as well, like very like atmospherically creepy but also like really heavily on the romance, then this is a really good book for you to start. Then this next book that I want to recommend is Into the Drowning Deep. This book was freaking fantastic. So this is basically a story about mermaids. So like many years ago there was a mockumentary like crew that went out to this like trench area in the middle of like the deep ocean, and they were basically trying to film a mockumentary about mermaids, but they end up finding something there, and what they found end up, you know, like scaring the producers, that they like just the whole like PR like thing that happened. But now like many years later they decide to assemble yet another crew and find out what truly happened to, you know, the crews from many years ago, and see if they can actually document the mermaids this time around, because apparently mermaids are real. So the story just kind of follows this like, you know, the ship going there filled with like researchers and scientists, and they were all just going there to like, you know, basically make and break their career. So it was really interesting with all the sciencey parts to it, but also like the mermaids elements were just like intensely terrifying. The ending was just like, not even the ending, but like I want to say like for most of the book you just have this like built up suspense of, you know, the mermaids are happening, and clearly these mermaids are like not good mermaids, because that's what happened to like the first crew like many years ago. So clearly you know that something's going to happen with the mermaids and it's not going to be a pretty situation. So like the entire time you're like building up a suspense and you're just trying to like figure out like what's happening, like who's going to survive this and like who's going to die. So I really enjoyed it. If you're looking for a really good like not necessarily like ghosts but like another like paranormal creature like mermaids, and if you're looking for something like more sci-fi but also really scary, I think this is a great book. And the author did not disappoint on the gore and like the horror elements too, because it was pretty graphic at some times. Then the next book that I want to recommend is a Sundown Motel. This book was also really atmospheric and creepy. There's just something to me about, you know, ghostly and paranormal things that are just abundantly creepy and scary. It follows a young girl who decides to follow in her aunt's footsteps from many years ago, back in the 80s, when Viv, who was the aunt, decides to, you know, go to Fell in New York City due to circumstances, and there she kind of like starts to uncover these clues about all the other disappearances of young women, but ultimately she ends up disappearing herself. So fast forward many years later, this niece now is trying to figure out like what truly happened. Her entire life she's been kind of like plagued about this aunt's disappearance from, you know, her own mom and her grandma and everyone else. So she decides, you know, once and for all I want to find out what happened there. So she ends up going to Fell, New York as well, and starts to like investigate and starts to like follow in her aunt's footsteps with what she was doing before she ends up disappearing as well. I really enjoyed this book because it gave a really good detail of like, you know, really good dual timeline. I also really liked the investigation aspects of it, and plus it was also very supernatural and creepy. There were so many components to this book with featuring like the Sundown Motel that was just eerie, and I was thoroughly creeped out by many of the incidences in this book. So if you're looking for a really good like haunted like hotel kind of situation, if you're looking for disappearances, like kind of a mystery aspect to it as well, then I think this is a really good book. So overall, these are all the books I want to discuss this time around. Let me know down below if you have any other good scary book recommendations out there, and if you have, like, please send them to me because I feel like I am in the mood right now for all the scary books. But as always, if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up. It really does help out my channel, and if you can see more content of me, please don't hesitate to subscribe and hit the notification bell. As always, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!